Hi, welcome to Tom's Geeky Garage. Today, we are going to be doing a custom figure. Recently, I was talking to my buddy Jason over at Ghostbusters News, asking him what he thinks the next project should be. And he said, why don't you try to make a Slimer figure that's to scale with the Ghostbusters and the Kenner line. Now, even though Kenner actually made some Slimers, like the Green Ghost here, they're usually the wrong scale, and or they're a part of a Fright feature or a other kind of series, but they never made one that's just a figure. So that's what we're going to do today. So to start things out, the first thing that I wanted to do was just get a lot of reference. I really like this Diamond Select figure. I just didn't like the arms and the gothic fingernails. So we're not going to use that as reference, but what we are going to do is just find a bunch of images from the cartoon, and we're going to use those guys to start our action figure. Now, doing the research, there are two different Slimers. There's a Slimer here on the left from the real Ghostbusters, and then the more childlike Slimer from Slimer and the real Ghostbusters, which you can see over here on the right. But we're going to go with the Slimer here on the left and probably model it after probably this guy here. I think this will be the one we use as our target. So now that we have that, we need to figure out how big it's going to be. So for scale, I found a few pictures of Slimers with characters, and usually it starts, he's about as long as if you took from the top of a character's head to their chest. So same with here with Egon. You see his head is about the same where Egon's is, and his bottom is around Egon's chest. So using a pair of calipers and my Egon figure, I came out to find out that the measurement is right here. It's about, I think it was like 35 to 40 millimeters. So I basically put this cube in, that's the scale I want, and all I have to do is build the Slimer to fit inside that. So now I'm just taking some reference photos here, scaling them to the actual size I need, and now I'm going to go through and start making all the base geometry. When I do digital sculpts, just like any other video I've done, I start out with a really low poly model as a kind of a starting block, and then I'll sculpt in the details and create the figure from there. So that's what I'm doing here. So I basically just traced the side view of Slimer and basically built a shell, and you can see the shell's kind of a little peanut shape right now, which is funny because in the movie they used a peanut for some of the visual effects of Slimer. But yeah, really, he does look like a peanut. So okay, now I got that done. Now I need to go in and just rough in some of the mouth and nose details, and then we can actually start sculpting. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm just going to go in and subdivide the geometry and kind of push things around. Same thing with the nose. I'm just going to build out just, a really, really low poly version of what these will look like. And now I'm just kind of going through and fine adjusting things and just bumping things around until I feel like I got a good starting block to start sculpting. Okay, so I've got to a place where I was happy with the starting block, so now I'm going back in with the sculpting tools and actually sculpting in all the details. Constantly checking back to the reference and trying to sculpt as good as I can. I'm not really a great digital sculptor. Like, I've done some things, but it's really an art that can be mastered, and I have not mastered it, but I do my best, and I'm usually pretty happy with what I come up with. So one thing I actually didn't want to do was texture Slimer this way, because with the Diamond Select toy, I just didn't like the texturing on the body. It was too movie-like than the actual cartoon, but I did need some texture. So what I did is I did dimple it, but then I went back with the smoothing tool and really smoothed those down, so they weren't really that aggressive. Now I'm just kind of going through and adding in some of the mouth details, teeth, gums, tongue, and then after I get in the eyes and the mouth and the teeth, I can go back through and start playing with the sculpt a little more. It's kind of hard to judge the final output without seeing it with eyes and teeth. So I want to get those put in before I finish sculpting and getting the final look of the figure. Also, you can see that I left little holes on the side for the arms. So it's getting to a point now where I'm getting pretty happy with the look of it. So now I'm going to move on and start doing the arms. I start out with a cube, and I'm basically just subdividing a cube and kind of making a rough looking arm here. Same thing with the body. I'm just going to do a rough version, and then I'm going to sculpt in the details. So I'm just kind of building the arm out, and now I'm going to go through and just sculpt in things, little muscles, elbows, creases, fingers, things like that. So, okay, so now I'm getting to a point where I'm pretty happy with the look of it. So now the next step in this is to do the articulation for the arms so the arms can swivel. And we're going to basically do it like Kenner did all the other figures. So we're just going to need to cut the back off here. Which you can see I've basically made it where the back is a separate piece. And then I've made sockets for the arms to fit into. And now I'm going to quickly just start making the pegs for the arms to fit into those sockets. Now I've got one made. I'm just going to copy that and then just reverse it and put it on the other side. Alright. So that about does it for this figure. There's really not much more I needed to do. Yeah, I got the, it looks weird, huh? Okay, so now we got that in, and we got the back piece. Alright, so this guy's ready to go to the printer. Alright, so he's all finished. He's got his little stand. He looks pretty cool. I could have got rid of this line on this back piece, and it didn't fit quite as well as I wanted it to, but that's okay. It still came out looking really good, and I could fill that, but I figured I just wouldn't. I think it looks pretty cool as it is. His arms do move. You can make him look surprised or however, and he does come off the stand, and you can see him next to Peter here. So he's, you know, about the scale that he needs to be. And if you'd like to download the files for him, you can look at the link below. I'll have the files there. And just all I ask is if you download this and you make one yourself, just share it with us on our Facebook page at Tom's Geeky Garage. Yeah, because we'd like to see what you've done. And also remember to like and share this video if you like it. And, you know, we'll see you later.